energy healing is working. It's stopping the spread of pancreatic cancer when nothing else that we know of can stop pancreatic cancer, at least that I know of. It's one of the hardest cancers to reduce, diminish, reverse. And here in a lab, energy healing is working on pancreatic cells in petri dishes. That is remarkable. That is groundbreaking news.
You mentioned that in our human history previously, people who lived closer to the earth would naturally have some of these capacities of being in an alive world, sensing the living power of nature and listening to precognitive dreams, that kind of thing, that we could look back and how in modern left brain focused times that can be shut down. And one of my curiosities is not just seeing that these are latent abilities that were in us and expressed previously, but where we're going, that we're in a very interesting moment right now. And your work as a filmmaker at the intersection with social change, you've moved forward, if you will, this conversation in a really powerful way, that there's some future that's coming. And I think it's not that far away, actually. This is really my feeling, that we're in a sort of breakthrough period. And I might even say a breakthrough couple of decades here, where there is going to be a shift in our recognition of our human capacities. And I wonder if you see that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think that, again, the best thing that I've seen in the past year was that my hope all along was just that science and research would start putting more time and money into this stuff. The onus shouldn't be on the average person or a storyteller to figure out that, it should be on the scientists. And I think for a long time, the spirit of inquiry has been taken away from scientists. You couldn't even ask questions about the non-physical world and be taken seriously. You'd be mocked. You'd be ridiculed. You couldn't find funding for it, forget tenure. You couldn't get published even if you were doing incredible research that was peer-reviewed and airtight. And that's really unfortunate, because the spirit of inquiry should be what is the lifeline of science. And I've seen that with the telepathy too. I mean, this is it is documented all over the world from so many different sources. It was as thorough an effort as it could be. And someone will still try to, discount it, debunk it. And that's okay. That's okay. But what I wanted was that for science just to unleash some money or some freedom to let scientists look at this. And over the past year, it's been wonderful, because I've been hearing from teams of researchers, again, showing that energy healing is working. It's stopping the spread of pancreatic cancer when nothing else that we know of can stop pancreatic cancer, at least that I know of. It's one of the hardest cancers to reduce, diminish, reverse. And here in a lab, energy healing is working on pancreatic cells in petri dishes. That is remarkable. That is groundbreaking news. And what does that mean? What the heck does that mean? The fact that scientists found something in our body, some people even call it an organ, that we didn't know was there before, called the interstitium, which seems to bring information around to all the different cells in our body, which seems to map the meridians and many of the points that acupuncturists have been talking about for thousands of years. And, acupuncture, certainly by Western scientists, was mocked and saw as silly and whatever. Well, here we have a wonderful system in our body that was accidentally discovered, by scientists in New York, that is very real and shows that there's electromagnetism in our body that creates what was the equivalent of just chakras throughout us. I mean, that's remarkable, and then I know about the telepathy research being done, and it's pretty astounding, because now when you talk to the scientists on the front cutting edge of it, they don't ask if it's happening. They're saying how many different types, because it doesn't seem to be one type. It seems to be two types. There seems to be this close proximity telepathy that might be more a way of survival when your other senses are failing you, sort of like the non-speakers with apraxia have. And there also seems to be this more common telepathy, which happens due to extreme need or love or closeness from a far, far, far apart distance. And and it's involuntary. You can't control when it happens. It's usually happening because someone you love is in peril or needs you. And that's been reported throughout hundreds of years. And then the scientists are thinking, but maybe that's two different types of telepathy. And maybe the first one, the one that happens in close proximity, maybe that's happening through biophotons, these little bits of light in our cells, that happen through the mitochondria. And then you look over to the energy healing world and they're talking about the same thing. We think there might be two different types of energy healing. One has to do with energy close up. Maybe it has to do with biophotons. We're looking into that. The other type seems to be different. It goes over a distance. It often it's based on need. We don't know yet how that's working. Maybe it's scalar waves. We don't know. There's a lot of controversial, strange things that seem fringe right now that could turn out to be real later. And so what's interesting to me is that watching that the scientists in these different realms studying different things are coming up with the same problems, the same questions, the same, kind of running into the same things, which make you wonder, what the heck are we dealing with if it's operating the same ways, And again, I think it's the fundamental layer of consciousness.
Discover on-demand videos and docuseries, explore a full schedule of daily live classes, and become part of an incredible community. At Sounds True One, we invite you inward to find your way, your way.